Joanne Simons, and I'm the president and CEO of the Northeast ARC, and I want to welcome you to the ArtWorks Community Arts Center and Peabody's Black Box Theater. You're one of the first people to be here. And this is also home to our creative businesses, including the Caning Company, Shine Jewelry. This is a piece of Shine Jewelry, and when you see Kim, she'll have a beautiful necklace on as well. And our inclusive gallery and gallery shop. The Black Box Theater and Breaking Grounds Cafe, our employment training center on Main Street, are great examples of our entrepreneurial approach to providing opportunities for people with disabilities while enhancing the creative economy and cultural life of our communities. As a leader in the disability field, we not only support entrepreneurs within the ARC, but those throughout the state and across the country through our ARC Tank competition, whose winners represent entrepreneurs from around the country. Please visit our website to learn more about the ARC Tank. This morning, we're pleased to present Starting Small and Making It Big, a conversation with entrepreneur and philanthropist Bill Cumming, hosted by our favorite media star and ambassador for the Northeast ARC, Kim Kerrigan. Special thanks to Mike Murray of Peabody Wealth Advisors, Chair of the Peabody Area Chamber of Commerce, and Chris Ross of the Kiwanis Club of Peabody for helping to cover the cost of the books for today's event, and to Gus Kent of Peabody Access TV for taping the event for those who could not attend in person. I think it's just Gus, I think I got it, didn't include. Our audience this morning includes you, young entrepreneurs from the Northeast ARC, Beverly Danvers, Essex North Shore Agricultural and Technical Schools, Gloucester and Hamilton Wenham High Schools, and members of the Peabody Area Chamber of Congress Young Entrepreneurs Academy. So all of you who are in those groups, raise your hands. Okay, most of you are. Thank you all for being here. In addition to the teachers, staff, and DECA Club advisors supporting the young entrepreneurs, we are fortunate to have community role models with us, including members of the Northeast ARC Board of Directors and the Friends of the Black Box, the leadership of the Peabody Chamber and the Enterprise Center of Salem State University, and members of Peabody's Community Development Team. Our program this morning will be an interview format. Kim will introduce Bill and start the conversation. Halfway through our time together, Kim will open up the program to your questions for Bill. Keep thinking about what you want those to be. At the end of the formal program, Bill has graciously agreed to autograph copies of his book. I'd like to take this opportunity to publicly thank Bill for the Cummings Foundation $100,000 grant several years ago, which enabled us to improve physical access to this building for employment program participants. Thank you for all that you've done to provide opportunities for people with disabilities in our region as a whole. Finally, it gives me great pleasure to introduce our friend, Peabody Mayor Ted Betancourt, to bring greetings from the city. Mayor Betancourt has made great strides in revitalizing the downtown, enhancing the quality of life for our community. His inclusive approach and trust in the value of what Northeast ARC and the people we serve bring to the table has enhanced our social capital. Because Mayor Betancourt sees us as a valued partner, others do too. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Good morning, and I am so happy and thrilled to be here. It's really my pleasure to welcome all of you to the city of Peabody and to our Black Box Theater for really a very special event. And I want to welcome our two honored guests today, Kim Kerrigan and Bill Cummings, who I can't wait to hear from shortly. I want to welcome all of our entrepreneurs that are here today from across our region, from the Chamber of Commerce, our own YAY program. It's wonderful to have all of you here today for really, as I said, a wonderful event. We've worked very hard here in the city of Peabody to foster a spirit of collaboration. We've been so fortunate to be able to partner with the Northeast ARC for really two incredible projects here in our city. First is the Breaking Grounds coffee shop, which is directly located across from our Peabody Main Branch Library, and of course the Black Box Theater that we're here today. Two wonderful projects that really, I believe, kind of represent what's so important about this morning's event. An intersection of philanthropy and entrepreneurship that we want to encourage here in the city of Peabody. I did want to recognize our city officials that are here today that work so hard to make these projects happen and to improve our downtown, which we're working so hard to revitalize. Our Community Development Director, Kurt Bellavance, our Assistant Community Development Director, Stacy Bernson, our Business Liaison Officer, Deb McGregor, our City Treasurer, former Business Liaison Officer, Julie Daigle, and Mary Bellavance from the Mayor's Office. Wonderful people who work hard for the City of Peabody. But we're here today to hear from two amazing people who've really made an impact, and I'm great to hear from them. I'm very excited again to welcome them to the City of Peabody. Without further ado, I think I'm going to turn it over to Kim to start the show. Kim Kerrigan, great to have you here.
All right. Good morning, good morning. How wonderful it is to see all of you. Can I take just a moment to say I'm so happy that you're here and then not in downtown Boston, where there are a million people who are just ridiculous this morning, right? So it's terrific to have all of you here. Thank you very much for being here. And I think you heard Joanne just a moment ago say, I am wearing a wonderful piece of Shine jewelry. I am so fortunate. I want to tell you, the artists at Shine, each time they see me, they give me a beautiful piece of jewelry, and it is so appreciated. And this one is no exception. I think it's just beautiful. So let's give them a round of applause and say thank you again very much for being here. How lucky am I that I get to interview our guest today? I am thrilled. For those of you who don't know Mr. Cummings, I called him Mr. Cummings right off the bat, and he immediately corrected me and said, please call me Bill. So from this point forward, we'll do certainly that. But it is so great to have you here. For those of you who don't know Bill Cummings, he is a real estate developer, but most importantly, he is a philanthropist. And I am thrilled for you to learn more about his life as a philanthropist this morning. But of course, we have entrepreneurs in the room who want to know a little bit more about his life as a business owner and how he got started. So certainly we're going to talk about that as well. And I know that you heard just moments ago that he's going to sign his new book. But what's so terrific about this book, after I read much of it and learning so much about Bill Cummings, I've realized that starting small and making it big is exactly what every single one of you in this room hopes happens, right? Right? We're going to all start small and we hope to make it big. So I think there's a lot that we can all relate to. Bill Cummings, thank you for being here, sir. Good morning.
Good morning, Kim, and good morning, everyone.
Let's welcome him, shall we?
I have to remember that there's audience to my left.
Yeah.
Almost behind me over here, so I think I'll turn my chair just a bit.
I think that's perfectly fine. That is absolutely a great idea. I know that you heard our plan is to open it up for questions, so keep those in mind. And if you have something that you think you just have to interject, raise your hand if you will. I'll certainly call on you. We can be very casual here so that we can all get involved in the conversation. You know, reading the book, everybody talks about this the minute that they speak to you, I'm sure. But Bill Cummings grew up in Medford, and he likes to say that he started as a juice man. Would you explain to everybody what was it that you did with juice?
Well, I think that what Kim must be referring to is the opportunity I had when I was, I guess, about 23 years old to buy a little company in Medford. And it's a company that at one time was owned by the same people that made Old Medford rum. A little place down on Fulton Street in Medford. The company had been in business as manufacturing Old Medford fruit punch. And I've always liked fruit punch, and I like things like fruit cake, and I like things like fruit cocktail. And so the business was for sale when I learned about it. And they hadn't determined what the price should be, but they talked about it. It was a six-figure number. We didn't talk any more than that at first, but I thought at six figures maybe we could do something if they meant low six figures, and they said they did. And probably in the space of about 5 hours of talking and touring the plant, and I learned that the business had been in the same location with one part-time worker left who worked 1 day a week, and a short day at that, making fruit punch. And they had about 25 customers. Mostly they were catering firms. And Luther Witham Caterers was up this way somewhere. Lynn, okay. And that was one of them. And Fitzpatrick Brothers down in Malden was another. Yeah, but in any case, catering firms. And they had two colleges, though. They sold fruit punch to Harvard at the law school only, and they sold fruit punch at MIT, at Walker Memorial Dining Hall. And they used it for faculty functions. And these are little get-togethers like this. Maybe they'd have coffee, tea, and Old Medford fruit punch in a bowl with some cookies or brownies or whatever. And they didn't see any way they could possibly have a punch bowl big enough to serve the 1,000 students who were in the Walker Memorial Dining Hall. But we found there was a nice refrigerated dispenser that we could buy and provide to them, and we did. And they said, sure, we'll try fruit punch. But first let me tell you how we got to own the business. So at that time, these 20 or 21 or 22 customers that they had wouldn't begin to support one person, never mind a half part-time worker. And it wasn't something you'd want to pay $100,000 for. And they said, well, maybe $40,000. That was a nice quick drop. And even at that might have meant I could perhaps eke out 15 or 20 cents an hour in profit at the end of the year, because the total sales were only $10,000. So we settled at the end of the day for $4,000. And I looked at the business, explored it, negotiated it, and gave them a check all on the same day. And that gives rise to something that I talk about all the time, and that's opportunity. Sometimes opportunities come along, and we need to recognize them when they do and take advantage of them if they're worth taking advantage of. But that was certainly one that fell in that category. I'm going to try to hold this differently, and I won't have that rattle. So I bought a business for $4,000, worked it for 5 or 6 years, put the fruit punch dispensers in at Harvard and MIT, eventually sold fruit punch and other related drinks at 320 or 330 colleges all up and down the East Coast. And the most interesting thing, I know I'll get a chuckle out of this one, we shipped Old Medford fruit punch to the University of Puerto Rico. Okay? Now, why would they be ordering fruit punch from Boston? It sounded kind of silly to me, but it gave us a little vacation perk, or a business perk.
There you go.
By that time, we had 2 or 3 other people selling it besides myself, and that's where the Juice Man came from.
There you go. So there's the Juice Man. So let's back up just a couple of minutes, if we could, Bill. And I know the young people in this room would like to know, when you were their age, when you were, 16 to 18 years old, talk about what kind of drive or what was in your mind, or was it ever in your mind that you would build an empire the way you did?
Never began to be in my mind that I would build any kind of an empire, and I would probably never use that word myself, certainly. But what I did know was that I didn't participate in sports for no particular reason. I just didn't. I enjoyed doing jobs. I enjoyed working. I enjoyed making money. And I did have a conscious set in my own mind that said, I'm not doing these other things, and I'm not going to, nobody's ever going to see me in a sports picture, because I didn't do sports. But maybe someday, I'll create a mark somewhere, and no idea what it would be. Certainly not thinking it would ultimately be real estate, because when I sold the juice company, I sold it, this company that we bought for $4,000, we sold it for a little over $1 million 7 years later, and those were dollars from 1970 dollars, and so they were worth a lot more. But that gave me the opportunity to start in the real estate business, commercial real estate. And some of you will surely know Cummings Center here in Beverly, next door in Beverly. Cummings Park in Woburn was the big place we had before that, and Trade Center Park down on Route 128 with a big archway looking toward the highway.
Now, you are a graduate of Tufts University. Talk to our young entrepreneurs about the idea of education. How much did it play into your success?
I didn't want to go to college. I wanted to get out and work.
There are parents who are going to come in here and ask you to leave now.
You know, I wanted to get out and work. And I was fortunate that there was a guidance counselor at Medford High School. His name was Gallivan, Mr. Gallivan, who almost backed me into a corner once and said, you know, I want your attention. I want to talk to you. You need to go to college. And I filed a late application. I think I sent 2 of them out. One happened to be Tufts. The 2 that I sent out, one was Assumption College in Worcester and one was Tufts, because those were the 2 that didn't have an application fee. No fee to apply. That was the reason I sent it. But I hadn't taken SATs. I took the aptitude test. I hadn't taken the achievement test that they want. And I did, however, get an opportunity, and I tell about this in the book quite a bit. And I met the admissions director, and we talked for an hour and a half. It was a Saturday, too, as a matter of fact. So that's the kind of dedication you see around here, people working weekends and nights and holidays and everything else. Well, he was somebody who worked all the time, and he would see people after hours, and he did. And notwithstanding the grades that I had, which would be a train wreck of a transcript today, I still got into Tufts and was able to pay my own way through college. My dad was a house painter. I grew up in an apartment that I describe in the book, a 1-bedroom apartment with my sister and both parents, and had a very happy childhood. Was up over a liquor store and a laundromat. And my dad, house painter, I was very much a product of the Great Depression. And that, of course, will help to explain where the desire to make money came from. I can help my family. And that was the issue way back when.
So that was probably the backbone of what made you the ultimate entrepreneur. I can help my family. Do you think that young people today have that same kind of drive, or they have that same kind of maybe mantra in their head?
Kim, I don't know how much is there, but when it comes to starting a business, and that's what we're in the background of what we're talking about a lot today. I think people have to determine that if they're going to have a business, they've got to have that kind of drive. They've got to really, really care and really wake up wanting to get into the next day because of whatever's going to happen. And that's the drive to have a career as opposed to a job. There's so many great people we all know. So many of my good friends have jobs, and they live and don't worry too much about their job after the end of the day, and they've decided they want to go in that direction. Way back when I decided I didn't want sports. Okay, they've made decisions that they do want other things more. It's hard to have what's called this well-rounded life if you're dedicated to a job, really, really into it. And there's 330 or 40 people who are working on the regular full-time staff at Cummings Properties, a few more than that actually. And that's a lot of families that are dependent on having a good job. And somebody has to be worried about that and thinking about it, and waking up and trying to get a few things figured out while I'm in the shower in the morning. And it works that way. It really does. And so it's my biggest advice to entrepreneurs is don't if it doesn't really turn you on, don't do it. Because in your job, Kim, how many hours do you work in odd times of the day and the night, and and whatever, so there's something going on, you want to be there. And you probably I can just picture that goes on in your mind when you're heading off to an assignment when you don't know what's going to be there when you get there. But it's a career if you like it, and if you don't, you've got a job you don't like, that's tough.
Let me ask everybody a question here in the audience. Do you have a passion in your mind that would be so great that you'd be willing to give it that kind of dedication? Because I think that's hard. Do you ever? I see some heads shaking. Yes, that's Bill. I think that's one of the hard things for not just young people, but for everybody. What is my passion, and how can I turn that into a career? Do you have any suggestions for that?
Well, let me say I want to drive by your coffee shop before I leave and see that, because I trace so much of what I learned and use in life today to 5 or 6 years I spent. You younger folks won't know anything about Brigham's, but some have been around a little longer, know that Brigham's had probably 40 ice cream shops all around Boston. And I spent 5 or 6 years working in Brigham stores. And I loved the job that I did. I got to meet people, and that's the value in the coffee shop. To people to find out if they want to be there and greet the public and do it just to get good at it and get better and learn from customers coming in. I mean, that I had made a game of it to see how much I could talk with my customers. It was quiet. Sometimes it was go, 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 go. But there were lots of times that people were there. It's a little bit like being a bartender. They talk about bartenders selling drinks in an alcoholic drinks bar as opposed to a soda bar. But they talk about then that a bartender is everybody's counselor. Just drink. Yeah, okay. And they do. But people would talk to me over the ice cream bar too. And I loved that. And it was what I did. I got, after 6 years, I was still in school at that time, and my job in the last 3 years was summertime manager. So I'd go into different stores and be the vacation manager for a couple of weeks here, a week there, 10 days somewhere else. And had a great time doing that. And it was things like that. I sold Christmas trees. That's another thing. And that's what I said. I paid my way through Tufts. I did that with selling Christmas trees, just the Christmas trees. Yeah. Of course, Tufts tuition in those days was how many thousand? $300 a semester. Okay. In the Boston Globe, I bought a Boston Globe the other day. 2 days ago, and I hadn't purchased one at the newsstand in quite a while, and it was $5. Boston Globe used to be 3 cents in the weekdays and 10 cents for the Boston Sunday Globe. So things change. Numbers, just recognize that the old people like to talk about the old days.
Well, I think things do change, but I think one thing that doesn't change is the idea of taking a passion and turning it into a lifetime career. And obviously, I think what I heard you just say is when you were at Brigham's, you had a passion for people, and you recognized that interaction with people was going to be something you wanted to do for a lifetime. Talk to me about relationships with people and how important they are when you are a young person starting out, an entrepreneur. Because it seems like to me, contacts and those kinds of relationships are essential.
They really, really are, and for those who have time to read the book, you'll find that I talk a lot about the relationships I had. That's one thing that's it's just the way that it wasn't by design. I didn't plan it that way necessarily, but someone pointed it out to me that was the essence of the book. Is stories I tell about relationships with people, and it's we've got a management team in Cummings Properties that's 8 people. And we've got an average seniority in that little group of 29 years.
Yeah.
And
unusual.
And the average in the field construction, we've got a couple hundred people who are carpenters and plumbers and electricians and landscapers, everything else. And we're over 11 years, in that group. And it doesn't usually happen, but we've done a good job of picking people who want to be there, want to contribute, and like to have a job where they can look forward to it, and they like the people they're working with. In the canning shop here a little while ago, the atmosphere in there was, we're all doing our thing, we're doing it, we're working together for a cause, and we've all got our specialties, and the nice workmanship that's coming out of there. It's so impressive coming in from the outside. And I couldn't imagine how anybody would ever change a chair.
Right, right.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
but-
I'm lucky enough to own one of those chairs, which is I'm quite fortunate, that's for sure. Let me ask at this stage of the game, we want to get into the philanthropic part of your life, and I want to talk about that. But anybody have any questions for Mr. Cummings related to entrepreneurship and what you have in mind, and maybe some of the things that you've heard so far? Does anybody have a question they'd like to pose?
You can go to the second question if you don't. Nobody wants to ask the first one.
Or we can go directly to the second question. Anybody have anything they want to ask at this stage? All right, I want to tell you a little bit about Bill Cummings is a philanthropist, and I think almost, you know, you correct me if I'm wrong, you've almost gone from an entrepreneur, businessman to philanthropist first. Would you say that's almost true?
Very much so.
Okay. And you do it by way of the Cummings Foundation, which we want to talk about. And I know you're involved in some foundations that are nationwide, worldwide as well. But let's start with the Cummings Foundation. You and your wife, Joyce, started the Cummings Foundation, and it is amazing for those of you who don't know about this foundation. But tell us a little bit about what started it and what made you and your wife decide that this was the direction you wanted to go.
Kim, we had determined from the very first days of Old Medford Foods and then Cummings Properties that philanthropy and supporting activities in our own business communities was very important to us, and had always allocated 10% to charitable giving of one type or another. Not from a religious point of view, a tithing aspect of it, but just supporting the community. And we think that's just something that every business should be so much aware. And I know from seeing some of the tributes to businesses who have helped here in building this beautiful little facility here and supporting different programs at Northeast Arc, the support that you get in the community is wonderful. And we tried to do that in the communities where Cummings Properties had buildings, especially. And then in 1986, we decided it was time to carry that to a different level, and we started donating buildings to we created Cummings Foundation. We donated buildings to the foundation, and for the last 6 or 7 years, everything that we do goes to the foundation, including all these books that Kiwanis helped to purchase. And that was much appreciated. For that support goes to varying activities of Cummings Foundation, and mostly we're working in Eastern Massachusetts. I think you heard that there was a grant received here, and there'll probably be others, but I think there's something 840 or 50 or 60 different organizations that have received that kind of a grant, all right local. So that's the big thing.
So I know that what you just heard is clear, but I'm just going to make it a little clearer for you. 100% of what is coming through your business is now going into the foundation. 100%. Isn't that amazing? Yeah, that's worth a clap. But that's unbelievable.
And that's a good reason when if you start businesses and your entrepreneurial businesses grow and you need a place to operate, we'll be glad to lease your space for the benefit of the foundation too. So,
You just said that back even in the days of Medford Juice. I was going to say back when you were a juice man, but I'm going to call it Medford Juice. You recognize the benefit of philanthropy. For these young people, explain to them why philanthropy and business, in your estimation, go together.
I think that any company has an obligation to recognize the impact that it has in a community. Your mayor here, I'm sure, is thinking immediately of tax income, real estate tax income, as he certainly should, and very few cities have done a better job than Peabody in maximizing the opportunity to create a large commercial real estate base. But so many other things that's all come into that as well. Another thing that's part and parcel with the real estate taxes are the jobs that businesses bring. But again, that's just a byproduct of the fact that the businesses happen to be here, but they make such a difference. And then beyond that, if the businesses have the opportunity to go out and help fill in between the programs that are offered through the governmental agencies and large organizations, which you certainly have had some nice impact from them as well here. But philanthropy at a small level, as we did earlier, with saying we're going to put a certain percentage of our business income is going to be used locally to support activities. It's just it makes such a difference in the community, and we try to do that from the very beginning.
You're also involved with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Tell everybody in the room, I know they probably recognize the names Bill and Melinda Gates, but what that's all about.
Well, let me first of all tell you that Cummings Foundation is a fairly big fish in a little pond around Boston. We've got a couple of $2 billion in net assets. Bill, we've got, maybe Gates Foundation has probably got 200 times what we have, 100 times anyway. And we have one part-time employee, they have one full-time employee, and a whole lot of volunteers. Gates Foundation's got variously between 2,000 and 3,000 people all over the whole world. So this Gates Foundation, way up there, Cummings Foundation, small and local, except that we did one project jointly with Gates Foundation, and Joyce and I came back from last Monday from Rwanda, where we've been active in building a new university, the University of Global Health Equity. And that's through Partners in Health here in Boston. Do you know Paul Farmer? And some of you might have heard him speak at Salem. I was pleased to introduce him at Salem State recently. I introduced him before that one time at the Boston Museum of Science. I introduced him another time in San Francisco. So I'm a professional introducer of Paul Farmer. Dr. Paul Farmer is one of my heroes. And I probably would call Warren Buffett another one of my heroes, but Paul Farmer above them all as somebody who just does marvelous things all over this world. He started off, he was building a clinic in Haiti when he was in his first year at Harvard Medical School, and he would filch briefcases with a wink and a smile. He'd filch briefcases full of medications every time we'd go to Haiti at the end of every month, and he'd go on the plane and he'd be lugging suitcases with medicine. But now he's just completed a major hospital there, a major teaching hospital at Miraval, I guess it is, but Miraval, that's it. And we agreed to support a new university, which he will run effectively in Kigali and Butaro in Rwanda. So we were there with him last week. And actually, I had a nice chance to do a book talk there too. We provided Kindle copies free to anybody who wanted to come. They told us they'd have 150 to 200 people guaranteed who are going to come to this book talk. They never heard of Bill Cummings. And then, as we were heading over, they said, the person who was driving us over said, there's a lot more than we expected. There's maybe going to be 300 or 400 people, they tell us. The time we got there, the newspaper report was there were more than 1,000. Okay? 1,000 people in this big, enormous tent in the middle of the campus. It's just unbelievable.
Fantastic.
But strange things happen sometimes.
I don't know if I think that's strange. I think they were just very interested, in probably knowing more about big decisions. Yes, ma'am.
You speak about how much you admire Dr. Farmer, but did you have a mentor?
I, interestingly enough, had two mentors at the same time in the same company. Paul Jacobs. The other was Bob Kinney. Anybody know those names from the North Shore? Gloucester? They were respectively, they were the chairman and the president of Gorton's of Gloucester. And I worked for Gorton's. First of all, my first job out of Tufts was selling Vicks Vapor Rub. And I sold Vapor Rub in about 40 states. Then I was asked to come with Gorton's, and I did. And I worked in 8 more states with Gorton's. But I had Paul and Bob at the same time. Bob Kinney went on to become chairman of Pillsbury General Mills, after General Mills acquired Gorton's. And they were wonderful mentors for a relatively short time, but there wasn't any other time that I actually had a mentor. Nothing early on, but they helped get me just understand some aspects of business that I hadn't really figured out yet. But it was, if somebody wants to help you and that you can develop a relationship with people, that's a big part of just speaking up and talking to people and sharing what's in your head with other people.
And Bill, do you find that most people are pretty open to young people coming forth and saying, could I ask you some questions? Can I work with you? Can I talk with you? I personally have had a number of young people who have approached me about my business, and I'm more than happy.
Yes,
I think
absolutely.
It's important to choose out a mentor. I think that's a real big part. If nothing else, sometimes you get the answers to questions that might make you just decide that's not the direction you're interested in going. But you've got to meet someone and chat with them more about whatever it is that you think that you're interested in.
Absolutely, that's so important.
How about some more questions? Anybody have questions? Yes, ma'am.
What did you think was your biggest challenge as a young entrepreneur?
To leave a little time for myself and not to be just over devoted, and especially after I got married. I tell a story in the book of finding my wife, by the way. My Joyce Cummings, who had been married going on 53 years, and I found, in addition to selling Old Bedford in colleges, we sold it in hospitals. And Joyce was a hospital dietitian, and I met her in the kitchen at Massachusetts Eye and Ear Infirmary. So, but that was back quite a while, and then we started quickly. We had our 4 kids, and there were other priorities that I needed to have. But still, I mean, she was so good to put up with me for the amount of time I still put into the business. There needs to be some kind of balance, but it's just a question of you don't care about it at all after work, or you care pretty good, or you're over here somewhere, that's great. Over there's too much. That was my biggest problem, though.
What else? Yes, ma'am.
I heard you were in the Navy.
You heard I was in the Navy. I was, technically. Maybe nobody but you knows it. I was actually in the Navy. I was in the Air Force ROTC in school. I was in the Army, U.S. Army Reserves, and for about 2 weeks, maybe a month, they transferred me from the Army base that I was affiliated with in Norfolk, Virginia, and then I was out in San Francisco for a while with my job, and I just got transferred to the Navy. And I can tell you the ship, the USS Loesser, Loesser, and I never got to go to any meetings, but that was my Army Reserve duty, and then they put me back in the Army when they realized they made a mistake. So you knew about it. I was in Army Cook School, and I was in Cook School with Ralph Nader. And I still see Ralph every year or so. We have a nice relationship.
And do you still cook?
I remind Joyce that I got a certificate that I'm qualified.
As a dietitian, I bet she sort of goes, well.
You're not qualified in her kitchen, Kim.
I see. What else? What other questions do you guys have that you'd like to pose today? Yes, sure, go ahead.
Hi, could you speak about the empowerment of entrepreneurship, the ability to create something for yourself and not be dependent if you're willing to work that hard? Do you feel it's empowering?
I missed the seventh word you said. Speak about the what of entrepreneur?
The empowerment
Empowerment.
of entrepreneurship, right? And creating a path for yourself, maybe not fitting in sort of traditional roles or trying to
Yeah.
get that job. That I think entrepreneurship can be creates a lot of empowerment for people.
Well, it does and it doesn't. I mean, so many people will get into business, and I don't have to take orders from anybody right anymore. I'm in my own business. I think I'm going home now. I've been here long enough today. It's that attitude. So the empowerment thing is something you have to watch out for. It's wonderful and it's very strong. Excuse me for pointing.
I was just thinking about barriers, right? Sort of certain barriers to entry that,
Yeah.
non-traditional paths that I think entrepreneurship can be empowering for people that maybe, especially if you're young and you're not with friends that maybe have a like mind.
Yep.
Do you think that it might create a path for those particular people and be a little bit more empowering for them?
Yeah, oh, absolutely, and the types of skills that are being taught here are so important in that regard. Yeah, and the opportunity to, and I understand some of the jewelries, the 13 different retail stores where jewelry is sold today. Yeah, and individuals can do that also, and if it, and maybe there's a time that people who start jewelry making here are going to leave here and find a shop closer to where they somewhere and set up and be hiring other people, and that's where entrepreneurship really comes in, when you begin to hire other people to help you and provide opportunities for others to do the same thing and to help you grow it maybe with different skills than the person who owns it. That's such an important thing in any business.
Well, and it's one of the things I think is fascinating about your career and your career path. When we think of entrepreneurs, I think we frequently think we have to graduate from college and start something. I have to have the idea right that minute. But that's certainly not true, and that was not your path. You just told everybody you were a Vicks Vapor Rub guy, and you worked for Gordon's. And, I mean, you worked for other people first. You got a sense of the world.
Absolutely.
It's okay to take that time and get out there and get that feel for the world.
That's graduate school too. Okay?
Right.
It's more effective if someone were to look carefully at the roster of the team at Cummings Properties today. I think there's one person that I can think of in our management team, people who have management posts of one type or administrative posts of 70 or 80 people, and there are 14 attorneys, one MBA, and 14 people with law degrees. And of the lawyers, only 4 of them work in our legal department.
Mm-hmm.
The other, Steve Drohosky, runs County Center up here, for instance. He was a litigator for a long time, decided he didn't want to be a lawyer per se anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So he runs a major office park. We've got just people who have in business the ability to write and to think and write and put agreements together is very important, especially in the real estate business. So that fits in for the skill set. It's not that I don't like or respect people with MBAs, but I'd rather see someone. I'd probably oftentimes rather hire someone who grew up in Revere or Chelsea or somewhere than in Winchester or Wellesley, for the most part, because they care more and they've had they value their work and they value their jobs more, and that's so important.
Well, that experience out there sometimes, practical experience sometimes can do a lot more than a piece of paper and an MBA. Talk to me about what you think is the single ingredient that is the most important. I know this is sort of a hard question, but the single ingredient that's the most important for success in today's world.
Let's say in today's business world.
Okay.
There we go. In today's business world, not spending money, saving. People who want to do well in business, save your cash, put it aside, develop a strong habit of saving money, and then once a business is formed, just watch where the money goes. And just don't spend on it if you don't need to spend it. And people will start off. We see people coming in and leasing space, and they're going to seems to happen in restaurants more than anything else. They'll come in and they'll lease the space, and then they'll decide, well, I'm going to have a barbecue restaurant instead of an Italian restaurant, and they dilly-dally around and get a whole new set of plans drawn, and they're paying rent every month, and then they don't really rush into it too much, and they've spent so much money before they ever open.
Right.
So it's just, yeah, that's wrong. It's deep. Yeah, you just watch the expenditures.
Questions? Anything else anybody wants to ask? Yes.
So one of the things that jumped out in your book was that you've got, I think now, 11 million square feet of property and zero debt. And so I think it kind of goes to your last point about saving, but how did you manage to grow the business to that size, yet pay off all the debt at the same time?
We developed, well, let me say first of all, one of the things that I also talk about in the book is the example of my parents paying off the mortgage on a house. Once they finally got a house and got out of the apartment and bought a two-family house, any month that my mom could, maybe there was an $11 a month, I think it was, mortgage payment. I don't know, $11. And if she had an extra $1.50 to put in the mortgage payment, she was so happy. I'd hear about it. And it was $1.50, I'd hear about it. And it was always something. You know, sometimes it was more at the end of the month. They wanted to get that down because they knew how much the interest was costing. Maybe this has something to do with my lack of enthusiasm for MBA degrees, but any business school would probably tell the first lesson in buying real estate would be to don't sign personally, so that you can play like Donald Trump and say, yeah, I had a mortgage, but I told them to go try themselves, and you don't have to pay a mortgage. You know, I've personally guaranteed every mortgage we ever had. We had mortgages in all the buildings early on, and we're fortunate though that we've managed to keep them full most of the time, and we're concentrating on paying those down. That was part of our mantra to become debt free, and because when I gave them to the foundation, I wanted them to be debt free going in, so it wasn't a question of, well, yeah, here you got the building, but you got the mortgage too. So there was none of that. So that was always important to me. But you know, it's personally signed, and just treated it that way. We've never been taken to court by a supplier.
Wow,
You know,
that's very unusual.
We go to court. We're regulars at court on issues of non-payment of rent sometimes. If people have businesses and they don't work, the businesses fail and they have to go away, and that's life. They go bankrupt, and that's what bankruptcy is supposed to be for, but not the way that you see it from our national leader.
Yes.
Do you have a disability?
Well, probably quite a few of them, all told. None has been defined.
Okay.
I have a son that has learning disabilities, and two daughters that don't.
But I think you would probably agree that a disability is no reason not to be an entrepreneur. It's no reason not to succeed. It's no reason to not have big goals and to achieve those goals.
For sure.
Okay. Thank you.
What else? Anybody else? Yes. Hi.
When you're starting the business, how do you try to keep the thing in balance? Like, what's the steps to avoid tilting the scales in the opposite direction?
So you mean financially,
Well,
or?
I would say both financially and structurally.
Mm-hmm.
Help me.
No one wants to have my advice about building a business, I can assure you. I think the point being, I think what he's trying to say, I don't want to put words into your mouth, we're just trying to understand your question completely, but I think what you mean is just, a balance. When you do begin, let's say you get some seed money, somebody helps you, somebody provides you with some dollars. how do you keep that balanced where you can keep that business open, where you haven't you don't overextend, and you can get that business off the ground? You just gave a great example of it, how restaurants so frequently will go in and they get all this seed money and they put it all in the decorations and they put it all in the promotion, and then they can't keep the doors open because they can't keep the business running.
Yeah.
So that balance, how do you find that?
And no question about that as far as you're describing it. And first of all, as far as seed money is concerned, the reason that it's so important to save money before you're going to start a business is that most lenders will be far more interested in loaning money to a new business, extraordinarily more receptive if the business owner is putting some cash into it.
Mm-hmm.
It almost doesn't ever happen that a bank or a lending institution can loan money to someone who doesn't have the confidence to put their own money into it. So that has to start, whether it's family money or money that you've worked and saved and accumulated. That has to happen. The other thing that is so important is building relationships with suppliers, so that the suppliers know they're going to get paid and paid promptly. And once they find that you're the type of company that pays its bills and cares about it, they're going to be far more ready to give you their best price. We've got a very odd way, in addition to becoming a debt-free business. I will tell you that we've got virtually every building we own, there's 110 or so, depending on how you count them, different buildings, probably half of which we built from scratch. We've never had a budget ahead of time to put up a building. Okay. We purchased Cumming Center with no budget. It would have been foolhardy to have a budget up there. We had no idea what would happen. Do you know the story of the buying of Cumming Center in Beverly? The former United Shoe Machinery Corp.
Mm-hmm.
How many know what we paid for it?
I do. $500,000.
You're right, yeah. Okay. It started off, it was $79 million and was the starting price, and gradually over 10 years' time, the price just dropped and dropped and dropped.
When you looked at it, weren't you intimidated by the size of the project?
Scared to death.
How long did it sit vacant?
It had been mostly vacant since '79, and we purchased it in 90, made the deal in 95 and purchased it in 96. Yeah. And it was, but sometimes you just can't begin to figure out what's going on. And we purchased it. We had no idea what we were going to do with it when we first went in there. Not the slightest idea in the world. Yeah. There's 6,000 people working there today. Probably half the people in this hall have been to a physician's office there at some time. Lots of physicians and medical providers of all sorts.
You said something though, and I think people think this is them individually, and it's not. I think it's across the board. Fear is a part of this expansion and being an entrepreneur and being a success.
Keeps you sharp.
Yeah.
You've got to be paying attention.
Right.
And I'm far more inclined, if I've been out of town, as I often am these days, I'll come back. I don't want to know, what was the best deal we did while I was away. I want to know what the problems are.
Right.
I want to know, what went wrong or what may be going wrong or who's unhappy with us. And so often somebody can get unhappy because a business makes a mistake, or they make a mistake and they blame the business. Either way. Mm-hmm. But if they're unhappy, it's so much easier to try to deal with it early on and pay attention to that and deal with your customers or your clients with empathy, the same type of empathy you want with people coming in to do business with you. You treat people the way that you'd like to be treated, and if you've made a mistake, it's so easy to say, "Gee, I'm sorry, it worked out that way. I could have done it differently. Let's see if we can't make it right." There's always a negotiating that can happen, and it's so important.
Anybody in the room want to talk about what your tell Mr. Cummings a little bit about what your entrepreneurial plan might be, what you're thinking about? You feel too nervous to tell him? Does anybody else feel like they'd like to tell him? Maybe some of the projects you guys have worked on? Okay. You don't have to be scared. It's okay. Remember, scared is part of being an entrepreneur. We just determined that. Go ahead, sweetie.
Well, I'm going to be starting my own business called Ashley's Bubbles. I'm going to be doing like bubble baths and bath bombs and whatnot. So that's how I'm going to be.
That's fantastic. Great. Good for you. Yeah. Obviously, this is something you feel passionate about.
Right.
So it's not just going to be a job for you,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your plan. We promise no one in the room will steal it. You don't have to tell us all that it's in it.
I haven't specific plan yet,
But that is your ultimate dream. That's what you want to do. I think that's fantastic. Good for you. Great. Anybody else? Anybody else want to share? Sure.
I want to do a preschool for affordable for single mothers and families.
Fantastic.
Good.
That is great.
Certainly a lot
That's
of
a
need
great
there.
idea. That is fantastic. Tell me why you feel strongly about that. Huh?
Because for a day it's like $1,000. I want minimize the payment for $400 for 3 kids.
To help those moms out.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Good for you. Anybody else want to share? Anybody else? How about some final thoughts? What do you think? What do these young people need to know?
They need to keep relating to people, listening, talking, learning, and the skills that are offered here. And I've been so impressed with them, really, and the program that this complex is providing for so many people today is very eye-opening, certainly. And I've known of the organization for a long time, but I'm very grateful to have had the opportunity to meet so many people here today and to hear and to listen to all of you. And what's happening around here is extraordinary, I think, in every way.
Well, I can second that for sure. What happens here is extraordinary, and
There's a reason why you keep coming back.
There's a reason why I come back. Yes, that's absolutely right. And I also know that there's some extraordinary students in the audience here from some of the local schools who have done some incredible things in collaboration with what goes on in this building. And for that, I personally thank you, all of you. And I know you know who you are, and it's a terrific thing. So thank you all very much for being here. Bill's going to sign books, and we want to thank him. How about a big round of applause for what he has done? Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate you being